Okay.
All right, this is the review for the final exam. Jenna's trying to be in the video. All right, so this should basically go through your review. It's not going to go in order of the review. It'll be skipping around. So I'll just go ahead and have it out and then pause it whenever you need to try to fill in what you need. First thing is you need to know the dividing line between Europe and Asia. Which, do you know that?
Wait,
Dividing line between Europe and Asia.
It's the mountain ranges.
Ural Mountains, good job. I got an audience. So Ural Mountains is the dividing line. Also, you need to know the term used for people that consider Europe and Asia the same continent, which is what?
Eurasia.
Right, Eurasia. So Eurasia is when you combine them both together. Let's see here. Got some charts. And then you need to know your different types of economies. Like a communist economy, that's where the government plans out everything, what's produced, and they dictate all production. Whereas in a market economy like ours is up to supply and demand. Also, you need to know the flow of the Nile River, know what countries it flows through, and what direction. You need to know your rift valleys. That's when two plates are moving apart from each other. Of course, in East Africa, you got your Great Rift Valley there, and it's created some lakes like Lake Victoria. Know the causes of desertification, such as overfarming, overgrazing, things of that sort. Also, in Africa, since freedom in the 1960s, those countries are worse off economically than they were beforehand, so things have actually gotten worse after they've gained their independence from Europe and other European countries. Strategic commodity, that's a commodity that people are willing to fight over. So that could be like oil or water, whatever it is that is important for survival or to make a lot of money off of. Brain drain, that's when, Jenna's trying to look at the test. Brain drain, that's when somebody that's intelligent leaves a poor country and comes, let's say, to the United States, goes to college here, but they stay here and work instead of going back to their country. So that's brain drain because that country is losing its human resources. You need to know what a stateless nation is and be able to give examples. A stateless nation is a group of people, which is a nation, without a country to live in. So in Southwest Asia, your two main examples would be the Palestinians, which fight the Israelis, and the Kurds, which are in Iraq, Turkey, and a little bit in Iran. More maps and charts. Remember the Berlin Conference that we talked about? That's when the European countries divided up Africa among themselves to avoid war among European countries. Also know the results of colonialism, which is civil wars, dictatorships taking over, and of course economic instability. Let's see here. Commercial farming in Southwest Asia, you need to know what makes that. Y'all throw me off. All right, anyways.
No.
I'm focused. No, I'm not going to redo it. All right, so Southwest Asia, for them to be able to farm there, they need two things, because remember, it's a desert. So you need dams. They dam up a lot of the rivers to make sure that they have a continuous source of water. And then, of course, irrigation systems. The main irrigation system in Southwest Asia is the drip irrigation. That's what we talked about, like the kind of like what your parents use around your house, the little hoses that drip water out around the foundation. And then other ones are really simple. You need to know, different religions, where they worship. So Muslims worship in a mosque, Jews in a synagogue, and Christians in a church. You need to know where all Muslims go on pilgrimage, which is to Mecca. And of course, remember, pilgrimage is a holy journey or trip. So they all go to Mecca. And also remember the 5 pillars of Islam: faith, prayer, alms, fasting, and pilgrimage. Praying towards Mecca. Make sure you know the founder of Islam, which is Muhammad. And then the time that they fast, which is the month of Ramadan. Then moving on, OPEC. It's Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. They're the ones that control the price of oil throughout the world. All right, the Taliban, a few things you need to know about them. Obviously, they took over Afghanistan. They had limited rights, especially for women, under their control. And also, they supported terrorists, and they were a fundamental Islamic government. Let's see. Going back to the conflict of the Palestinians and the Israelites, I need to note they're both not really willing to give up that land, and especially control of Jerusalem, because for both of them, those are holy sites, a holy city. I need to know what the Aswan High Dam and the Three Gorges Dam have in common. The biggest thing is they both use water to create natural energy, so hydroelectric power. All right, Japan, they're having fewer children. Their population is shrinking, and you know the main reason for that. And that's like what we talked about before. Any country that's developing and becoming richer, they have less kids because the kids become more of an expense. They're not used to work on the farm anymore, and so they tend to have less of them. Remember the caste system in India? That's a social class system. That's the one where you cannot move up and down within the system until you die and you're reincarnated at a different level. And that's all based on your karma. Your good and bad deeds and how you'll come out. And you know about Gandhi and also Martin Luther King. What they have in common is that they both use nonviolent resistance to gain freedom. Gandhi, of course, in India against the British, and Martin Luther King here in the United States for civil rights. And you know about the division of Shiites and Sunnis. Those are two Muslim groups. They split over who should be the leader of Islam. The Shiites believe the leader of Islam should be a direct descendant of Muhammad, whereas in the Sunnis believe anybody that's a capable leader can be the spiritual leader of Islam. Constitutional monarchy, just know the basic definition of it. Then it's a monarch that is limited by a constitution, so he doesn't have unlimited power. He's limited in what he can do, kind of like our president. You know what's considered basic necessities in India. Education's not one of them. So food, shelter, clothing is. Definition of illiteracy. You should know. I'm not even going to tell you that. You should know that. And then, of course, why Indians continue to have a lot of kids. And that's what we talked about in poorer countries, why they have a lot of kids. Because their insurance and parents' old age, because they don't have health care. And also, it's a source of income for the family because they work on the farm. And then the infant mortality rate is high, so you got to have a lot of kids because you don't know how many will survive, because a lot of them will die before the age of 5. All right, and then tying in with that, how are you going to help control population growth in South Asia, mainly India? And that's through education. More education will bring in less kids. All right, got a political cartoon. You know where Japanese live for the most part, where most of them live, and that's mainly in cities along the coastlines because it's so mountainous throughout the country. And you know about glasnost and perestroika. In general, those were economic attempts to revive the economy of the Soviet Russia as it was falling apart. And you know the leader that instituted these two policies, and that was Mikhail Gorbachev. He was the last leader of the Soviet Union when it fell in 91. I just know what the Ring of Fire is. You should know that. Stolen Generation. Let's talk about Australia, where the British took all Aboriginal kids. There we go, and put them with white families to try to get rid of their Aboriginal culture and make them learn to be white. Also, in going to Australia again, you need to know what has hurt their agriculture and sheep raising, and that's rabbits. We talked about how they brought in rabbits to Australia to help with some insect problems and stuff like that they had, but the rabbits in Australia have no natural predator, and therefore their population has taken off, and there's rabbits everywhere. All right, a ring-like island, that's an atoll. You know what archipelago is, which is a chain of islands that are close together. See how much time I got on this. Okay. You know where most of the population of Australia lives and why. Most of them are on the east coast because when you move inland into the outback, it's very dry and hot, not really suitable for living, not enough water. All right, the reason why the U.S. got involved in the Vietnam War, that's because North Vietnam, which was communist, was invading South Vietnam, so we got involved to try to stop the spread of communism. Also make sure, as far as maps go, make sure you know where different places are located in general. So like you should know where in the world, like what peninsula Mecca is on, where Islam started. You should know where Vietnam, Cambodia, and Laos is. Obviously India, the Indian subcontinent, you should know that. All right, charts. All right, you need to know about diversification. Sometimes countries are one commodity countries, meaning that they rely on one economic commodity to make a lot of money on. And so, of course, if that commodity isn't popular anymore, demand drops, they're going to lose a lot of money. So they need to diversify, which means invest in other things within their economy, whether it be tourism or some other product. They need to invest somewhere else. Maps, and charts. Make sure with Jerusalem, you know what's in Jerusalem. So the holy sites like the Dome of the Rock, the Wailing Wall or the Western Wall, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, things of that sort. Another map. All right, and then some other just simple definitions. Dynasty, that's of course a family that rules over time and powers passed down through the family. You know about the Boxer Rebellion, which that was in China. They rose up against foreign influence and the spheres of influence that foreign countries had in China. A samurai were the warriors or bodyguards of the clan leaders in Japan during the Middle Ages. The communist leader in China that took over and led the communist revolution there, or civil war really, was Mao Zedong. Tourism in Southern Europe. You have to know really just that's important for that region economically. A lot of the people on those islands and things like that along the coast rely on tourism for survival, economic survival. Scandinavian countries, that's like Norway, Sweden, Finland, that area, they're known for their social welfare systems, so you have to pay a lot in taxes in those countries to be taken care of. Europe's largest mountain chain is the Alps. Know the general location, which is northern Italy, Austria, Switzerland, that area, and the chain runs from east to west. And it's fairly short. The conflict in the Balkans, remember the Balkan Peninsula is in southeastern Europe, Greece is at the tip of it. The conflict there, the biggest reason for it was the breakup of Yugoslavia, and that created a lot of tension. Suez Canal, and again, just a general location, what it connects, which is the Mediterranean Sea to the Red Sea, so that allows shipping from the Mediterranean area down through the Red Sea and over to India instead of having to go all the way around Africa. Genocides in the 1990s, the two big ones in Africa you need to know, of course, are Sudan and Rwanda. Rwanda was 1994. Sudan started in the late 90s and went all the way up until about 2008. And then more maps, and then that's it. So it should be pretty simple. Make sure you get your review done, and I'll add 12 points to the lowest test grade. And the test is on Wednesday. See y'all later.
Bye.